Outside of recovery operations, what are we doing? Well, first, we are continuing to monitor. There are no active tracks today, but the professionals at NORAD will continue to do their important work. Secondly, we are consulting with allies and partners on the challenge of identified aerial phenomenon and how we can all work together to deal with that challenge. The President has directed the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and the Director of National Intelligence to engage with their relevant counterparts to share information and to try to gain their perspectives as well. Again, this is an issue that affects everybody around the world. Third, we will continue to brief members of Congress and relevant state leadership on what we are doing and what we learn. The President has made this a very top priority. We have, over the course of just the last few days, and certainly over the course of last week, reached out to inform and brief members of Congress and relevant state governors of the operations that we were conducting and of the recovery operations that are underway. We've also kept Congress briefed generally on this issue of Chinese surveillance balloons, including classified briefings last August. And last week, administration officials provided classified briefings for all senators and all members of the House of Representatives on the PRC surveillance balloon. We fully expect and anticipate and support the ability to continue these briefings in the days ahead. And fourth, the President, through his National Security Advisor, has today directed an interagency team to study the broader policy implications for detection, analysis, and disposition of unidentified aerial objects that pose either safety or security risks. Every element of the government will redouble their efforts to understand and mitigate these events.
It's one small step for man.
Welcome to Earth.
One giant leap for mankind.
What's up, man? It's Lit.
UFOs are real.
What's up, everybody?
What up?
Hey,
What's
how we
up?
doing?
Feels good to be
Hey,
back.
it's good to be back. We are out of Nashville, not in the same room, same state this time. You guys are,
Yep.
but I'm not. And a lot
different rooms.
happened
Different rooms.
in between then and
Live
now.
from the basement.
I know. It feels like
man.
it's been a while since I've seen you because we stockpiled a couple episodes and it's been a little
We
bit
did.
since we recorded. But I'm excited.
did,
to
but
get
we
back
had
on mic, baby.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, of course, obviously a lot has happened. We can't do a UFO podcast and ignore the USA shooting down UFOs for 3 or 4 days straight. So, I mean, that is just
That
the
was
gift
wild.
that keeps on giving at this point, right?
Well, I thought it was really interesting that when we first started this podcast, we release an episode. The very next week, the government releases 3 videos and say UFOs are real. And then we disappear for 2 years, and I feel like not much happened. And then we come back with our season 2, and like the very next week, oh, they're shooting UFOs out of the sky, and it's mainstream media. Like that's a coincidence. if you
So
wanna
you're
call it that.
saying we're like our show is like the lucky rabbit's foot for the UFO niche, is what you're saying?
I think so. I think we have to stay here, so more stuff keeps on happening.
we're here to stay. Yeah, we are definitely antagonizing the phenomenon.
But yeah, now that the dust is settled, we get to talk about this. We've been trying to get on the mic to talk about this, but we're all so busy. That's why it took us 2 years to get back on. But we have to address it, man. I mean,
we do.
got wild.
So literally, this is I'm looking at a headline. This is from the New York Times. So this is not, this stuff used to be on like the National Enquirer. I mean, for kids that used to go to kids back in my day, you used to go to a grocery store to pick up your own groceries. They had what was called a checkout stand. You couldn't swipe your own stuff. Yeah, and at that checkout stand, they had publications that would run like, Alien had Hillary Clinton's baby on the side, right? Bill doesn't know. They would run headlines like that, remember? Now,
I think that was a legit headline too.
Bat Boy.
I remember that one.
Bat Boy, you know what's up. So anyway, my reason for bringing that up is how far we've come. That UFOs were like this newsstand sort of like funny niche to. This is the New York Times, and the headline is a timeline of the UFOs that were shot down. So they're literally using the acronym UFOs without any, like, that's the world we live in now. You can actually talk about UFOs without fear of ridicule for the most part. And every major news network, I mean, it's definitely a buzzy, like you put UFO in your headline, you're going to get clicks, but still pretty cool nonetheless to see, like, it didn't matter whether it's Fox, CNN, MSNBC, Politico, all of them, New York Times, they're all running with it, and they're like, what is going on? And it took days to kind of get an answer. But anyway, that's what we're here, is to kind of walk through, break it down, and then see what we kind of make of it, right? So
I thought it was interesting that they used the word UFO specifically, as opposed to UAP, as we know, is the new term.
Right.
But I'll tell you what is confirmed is that they're not flying anymore. That's for sure.
Right.
Shot those
I
suckers
think
down.
that so in that first clip that we opened the show with, that was Admiral John Kirby who was giving that that press briefing, and he was using the term unidentified. It's funny, you can always tell the government is trying to get cute with stuff when they switch the words. It's all the same thing. So we went from UFO, we went to unidentified aerial phenomenon. Then they changed that to unidentified anomalous phenomenon.
Yeah.
And then when they were doing the press briefings and stuff, it was John Kirby, the White House press secretary, came up later, and I think one more other person. They started calling them unidentified flying objects. So then they really started using the word object. Which was key to me from the very get-go. I'm slow to feed in any conspiracies, and that's not what I try to do, but I was manning the Instagram. My thumbs were hot, posting and commenting and trying to keep everybody up to date.
I was impressed, bro. I was very impressed. I mean, I was busy with my daughter. I know you were busy with your kids.
Yeah, man.
And it was just news after news. I'd be texting you, another one's down, another one's in the sky.
I kept shooting more stuff down, man. I kept being like, all right, that's it. I'm done. They shot another one down. I'm back in, right?
What was your process, though? Because I felt like for a little while you were kind of ahead of a lot of the news, too.
Yeah. I mean, we have many different social media accounts, shameless plug. So Instagram, Twitter. We follow the right people on Twitter that are all about, dude, there are some amazing people out there. Like, citizen journalism is intense, dude.
Internet sleuths.
Literally, there's people that have the flight data, and they're like, these airplanes are over here, and they're like, 4 new jets just took off from Tacoma, Washington, and I'm just like, oh crap, right? And then, yeah, you're right. We were a little bit ahead, but I would give it to the shout out to those random people in the ether for tracking that stuff. But anyway, so so a lot of stuff was going down. I was feverishly keeping up with it on social media. So follow us whenever stuff like that goes down. If you want to be the first to know, follow us, and I'll definitely make it worth your while. But we were chasing it down that whole weekend, and they just kept shooting more and more stuff down. And the first inclination everybody kept saying is balloons, 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 balloons. And I was like, dude, it's not balloons, man. So I'll get into my thoughts, because I want to go through this timeline. And I think after we go through the timeline, what I think kind of happened or could be happening or whatever, I'll definitely speculate for sure. That's why we do the show, is to speculate. I think that then what I kind of found interesting in my Instagram conversations with obviously anonymous people behind Twitter handles and stuff, I found to be an incredible, I found it to be a really cool exercise and almost like experiment in human psychology, and watching how easy it is to manipulate people and watching it happen in real time. So I'll come back to that after we kind of work through some of the details, and I'll elaborate off of what I mean by that. Cool? Sound like a plan?
Sounds good to me.
Cool, man. So let me walk you through here and cut in if you got some questions, but I'm just going to I'm going to give everybody a quick timeline. So if you weren't obsessing over it, like obviously we were that weekend, then here's just a quick download to get you caught up. So, all right, the first sort of incident that sparks this whole thing is February 4th. A Chinese spy balloon is shot down over the Atlantic Ocean. So Chinese spy balloon, clear, big, white balloon at about 60,000 feet elevation, carrying a payload, almost looked like a satellite almost. Originally spotted over Montana, drifts over sort of like the towards the East Coast. I believe it's shot down somewhere right off the coast of Myrtle Beach, and lands in the water. And of course, the government was like, we were waiting for it to land over water or drift over water so we could shoot it down, because it was described to be the size of 3 school buses, right? So imagine that landing on your house. Government doesn't want to foot that bill. Bad headlines, right? So they wait till it gets over water. All right. So that's what kind of kicks this whole thing off. So it says here in the New York Times, the balloon entered Alaskan airspace on January 28th. Pentagon officials said and later drifted from Idaho southeast to the Carolinas before it was shot down off the coast of South Carolina. The balloon was at about the size of 3 school buses and was flying at 60 to 65,000 feet in altitude. The incident prompted Secretary of State Anthony Blinken to cancel his trip to China that would have been the first by a Biden cabinet secretary. China has maintained that the device was a civilian aircraft that strayed into American airspace. However, senior American officials increasingly believe the balloon was originally supposed to have conducted surveillance over U.S. military bases in Guam and Hawaii, but winds carried it off course. So that was the quick, just Cliff Note version of that incident. Clear? Any questions,
big-ass balloon.
students?
Yeah,
That's a big-ass
three
balloon.
school buses is massive.
Dude, that's gigantic, right? And that's why that's why people could see it with their naked eye, right? You could look up and you could see it even though it was 60 to 65,000 feet, right? And it's important to remember some of these details. Now, details have come out later. There's speculation that obviously they said since January 28th, like they're saying that the U.S. was tracking that balloon the entire time from China. We totally saw it going towards Guam and Hawaii. We just managed to mysteriously let it enter our airspace, drift over in a perfect line over our most sensitive facilities over the Dakotas, like down. It came down like Idaho, Montana, down through kind of the Midwest there. Which if we'd have to pull up a map or something. If you're looking, there was a map and it dots the like Air Force and military installations along the flight path of that balloon. And those are like where we keep our nuclear weapons and all that kind of stuff. So that one is completely mundane. That one's not within question. We know exactly what that one is, but I'm just referencing the time and the fact that it was allowed to drift. Remember, it drifted across the U.S. for like 4 days before they shot it down. Do you remember this?
And yes, I do. And they're
our brains
very specific
sometimes
in the media.
Yes,
they're very specific in the media with this is China, this is a balloon. Here's a video of what it looks like.
And just think about it, letting it go across the entire filmed. Everybody's watching it. Cell phone family, like everybody's looking at it. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Good job, Tomas. Thanks, buddy. So we're pulling it up. So look at that flight path. And again, if you look at the sensitive military installations, they're right there. So it didn't accidentally, the winds didn't just magically carry it across all the sensitive
the entire
military
state or country.
Right, dude. Like it makes like a straight diagonal over the whole country and multiple states. So anyway, my point with that is it was a gigantic sore thumb, right? We all saw it and we all knew it was going on. I cannot stress that enough. Okay. So now that was February 4th.
And it's reported that they were tracking it the whole time, right? Like they knew.
Correct. Like they knew where it came out of China. They
Yeah.
watched it drift across the ocean and they saw it come in and they still just let it do its thing. On accident? I don't think so. I mean, I personally think that you let that thing drift out over, let everybody get a good look for 4 days, drive it home in people's minds. Balloon, 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 Chinese balloon, Chinese balloon. All right. February 10th, a UFO, this is straight up the New York Times calling it, a UFO is shot down off of Alaska. A U.S. fighter jet brought down an unidentified object over the waters of Alaska. The object broke into pieces, was most likely not a balloon, a Defense Department official said. A White House official said the object was the size of a small car. I don't know, what's that, like a Mitsubishi Eclipse or something?
Yeah.
The The object was first detected on the evening of February 9th and was headed toward the North Pole, it says. All right, well, okay.
What?
I mean,
What's
we
Santa!
don't. Buddy,
Totally,
shut
that's
down,
totally
buddy.
heard off.
So February 10th. Let me just rattle through these. Otherwise, we'll never get through this because I've got so much to say. Burning through my skull here. Okay, the following day, February 11th, a UFO is shot down over Canada. An American F-22 fighter downed an object over the Yukon territory, which borders Alaska. The object, which a Canadian official described as cylindrical and smaller than the spy balloon, was picked up on radar February 10th as it passed over Alaska. And then they got a nice little tweet from Trudeau talking about how he, worked with NORAD. It was unclear what the object was, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada said it had violated Canadian airspace. Yes, how dare you violate Canadian airspace? So much violation, in fact, that we shot it down, and then later we blame the inability to recover it on the remoteness and secludedness of the area that it was violating. So interesting, right? February 12th, a UFO was shot down over Lake Huron, that's in Michigan. An object that first appeared over Montana on February 11th was shot down the next day over the Lake Huron off of Michigan. The object, which was flying at about 20,000 feet, had an octagonal structure with strings hanging off it, but had no discernible payload, U.S. officials said. All right. Now, not listed in here is, I believe, February 16th is finally, so that's when they shot all these things down. Finally, on February 16th, so that was the 12th, 4 days later, Joe Biden goes on TV and talks about these things. And then February 17th, basically like the next day after Biden talks on it, they indefinitely call off the search because the objects, it's too difficult here. So what they say, the search for the objects remains is now suspended. The United States and Canada called off their efforts to recover the remains of the objects that were shot down, in part because of the difficulties posed by the terrain and weather conditions, officials said. When asked if the United States overreacted in shooting the objects or had any regrets, John Kirby, who we heard in the opening clip there, spokesman for the National Security Council, said, absolutely not. He continued, given the situation we were in, the information available, the recommendation of military commanders, it was exactly the right thing to do at exactly the right time. All right, so that's just a quick synopsis of what was going down.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dustin? What do you got, buddy?
I think they do have regrets because, I mean, first of all, they shot a missile and missed, and they don't even know where that missile is. I heard that they're about $400,000 a piece, so you have no regrets for missing.
$500,000 missiles. You're shooting at balloons. Apparently,
come on, man.
Allegedly.
I don't know if all of them are connected. I think that they're just on high alert since the China balloon, which started it all off. I know when this is all happening in real time. I was talking to you, Justin, and I wasn't saying balloon, but I was thinking China. And you're like, Dustin, really? You're the first one to go to aliens or grays immediately when these things are happening. And I was on the fence. I was thinking China until there was reports. I mean, China didn't release that officially publicly that they were going to shoot down a UFO, but they what was it? We intercepted communications between them and some sea captains that they spotted one. They were potentially going to shoot it down. I haven't heard anything since. But because of the way we intercepted that dialogue, I kind of believe that it wasn't China. So that made me think, okay, if it's not China, if it's not U.S., if it's neither one of us, who has the resources and the capabilities to do that? I don't know. I don't think it's extraterrestrial. I truly think that we're just on high alert because of that surveillance. I know you have very strong opinions on this, Justin. What do you think it is?
Yeah, well, I don't want to claim to think or know what it is.
Of course
but
not,
I just want to go over some facts and then mix it in with some my pure speculation, right? So, like I said, all right. So they let this Chinese spy balloon, official Chinese spy balloon, like even the Chinese don't call it a spy balloon, but they say it's theirs and it's a balloon. All right. No one is refuting that was a balloon. All right. And that it came from China. It was allowed to drift over the country for, like I said, for about 4 days, and we saw it coming for like 4 days prior to that. So for like a week, we're just watching a fucking balloon just slowly drifting over. Okay, so if you really wanted to shoot down anything that was violating sacred airspace, you had plenty of time to shoot it down over the fucking Pacific Ocean, okay? But no, instead you let it drift over the United States. Everybody looks up, they see it. Dude, it's at 60,000 feet, okay? 60 to 65,000. The other thing is we shot down things at 20,000 feet, okay? Yeah. So it's up there, it's high. That's not in commercial, in danger of commercial air traffic and all that stuff that they said. So that's total bullshit. Anyway, my point is you let that thing drift across the United States for a few days, whip people up into a frenzy, then shoot it down. All right. Then they immediately go into this frenzy of shooting several things down. Okay. Now these things look nothing like what we originally shot down. We don't know who it is, or we don't know whose it is. We don't know what it is. We hear small, metallic, cylindrical, octagonal shape. So they're not circular, completely spherical. They're not white, clearly like canvas balloons. Some, what that article didn't touch on is that some pilots said that as they approached the objects, they experienced like malfunctions in their equipment. All right. So that was
interesting. That was very interesting to me.
Right. So I'm just kind of trying to connect some dots here. Right. So then the 10th, we find one, we shoot it down. The 11th, we shoot one down. The 12th, we shoot one down. Like we shoot down several real quick. All right. They just so happens, you got to have some context. People that follow this subject closely already know this, but if you don't, the whole reason that there is a UAP task force, or now called Arrow, is because fighter pilots came out, all right, and you talked about at the top of the show those 3 videos that came out when we first started this thing. You had the Nimitz incident chasing a Tic Tac, which just so happens to sound like a cylindrical object that, whatever. But anyway, you also have Ryan Graves and several other pilots that were flying missions off of the East Coast. Norfolk, Virginia Beach. There's a huge Navy contingency down there. So these are Navy pilots. And they're reporting back that 50 miles off our coast, they find all like a line of these objects in the sky that are sometimes squares inside of spheres or small weird metallic objects. They're small, so they're hard to see when you go flying past it at like Mach 2, right, or whatever in a fighter jet. And that's why we don't have great footage of them on like cell phones from the cockpits and that kind of stuff. But we do have some. There is some evidence and some testimony of these things for years, and talking about thousands of them. And there's been congressional hearings on this type of stuff. So I'll put a bow on this and we'll move on real quick. But my main thing is just for some context. This is not a new phenomenon of seeing small cylindrical objects in the sky in our airspace. In fact, that's the whole reason Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, To the Stars Academy, like this whole current UFO phase that we're in was set off by these small objects invading our airspace undetected, unengaged, and fighter pilots seeing them. So this was not a new phenomenon for those people that think that this just popped up and we just saw sky debris and shot at it with $500,000 missiles because Biden was embarrassed by the Chinese balloon floating over. That's horseshit. That is completely face value. What do you think about that so far? Before I don't let me go down the rabbit hole too quick.
I love going down rabbit holes. We can go down rabbit holes all day.
We're going.
I'm not about this.
I'm not in reverse.
No.
I'm just taking a breather.
We're just getting started.
I'm taking an orange slice and a Capri Sun, and while you say, give me a breather here, Coach.
Yeah. So before I get into my thoughts, Tomas, can you look up this picture? It is out of the cockpit of that spy balloon. So we haven't seen any visual evidence, video, pictures, none of those things of these other objects. We've
even
only
though they
seen
straight
exactly,
up
right
said
there.
that even though they said it exists.
Exactly,
Because the fighter pilots approached these things, took pictures of them, filmed them, and got close enough to where the pilots could say they were unmanned and then be given the green light to shoot them down. So you're
look
100%
at this.
right.
Look at this fucking picture right here. That's clear as fucking day. You can see that's obviously a balloon with a fucking satellite dangling off of it. Why haven't we seen any photos of the other UFOs? I understand that this is an easy out. It's national defense, but give us something. Like,
because
what are they
I'll
hiding?
tell you why. And here's me putting my conspiracy theory hat on, not because of the government or anything, but because I just watched people's reactions on social media, and even you when I kind of chirped at you a little bit. So when the first balloon goes down, and then on February 10th, when the one gets shot down off of Alaska, and I start engaging on social media, dude, all of the comments, there was two types of comments that came up. It was people that were like, it's UFOs. This is Project Blue Beam, false flag operation. Here we go. We're blaming it on aliens. It's beginning. All right,
people
whatever.
have been waiting for that. They've been waiting for that.
They've been waiting to pull the trigger on that. Stephen Greer was right. So there were those people, which is okay. I ain't hating on you.
That's
like
fun.
I engaged with them because I'm like, dude, I don't know. It could be. I don't know. And but then the people that I want to focus more on, which were the people that were like, dude, it's just another Chinese spy balloon. And I just thought to myself, holy shit, man, the government or these intelligence agencies or whoever's pulling these strings and pushing these narratives, how freaking genius are they? They have this gigantic Chinese balloon that's might as well be a billboard, float across the United States for 4 days. Then a few days later, shoot something down. You have to mention that you shot something down because, like I said, there's people on Twitter tracking fighter jets taking off, so they can tell that something's happening in this area. So you got to have a story. Hey, we're shooting down. Let's use the word UFO because it's gonna get everybody whipped into a frenzy. But we know there's data. We know that there's pictures and video and all this stuff. We have yet to see it, right? You don't need to see that though. We're gonna get the wreckage. You never even tried to get the wreckage. Tomas, pull up that video I sent you. So this was a video I pulled off of Twitter from a gentleman who was up north near the northern coast of Alaska where this stuff apparently went down. And this was like the 1 or 2 days after. This was an update to an original video that he had. But basically, he's like, dude, there ain't nobody out here looking for any wreckage. Like, you can go out on this stuff right here. So let's just watch this real quick. And again, I can't verify the validity. Like, I wasn't there, geotagging this guy. I'm assuming it was legit. Nobody was calling him out. I read a bunch of comments, and I tried to do my best to make sure I wasn't bringing you guys a bullshit clip. I try not to spread stuff that's false, but seems legit. So let's roll this real quick.
There's been absolutely nothing going on today at all. No planes, no helicopters, no C-130s, no high altitude jets up there. Even though it's kind of cloudy, you can still see blue sky. You got to be able to see them. Everybody just packed up and left. And the news is saying, oh, they couldn't find the object. Look at that. Look at that. It's a white, flat, open, frozen ocean. I mean, even if the thing was blown into smithereens, like, you got to be able to see the pieces. It's the whitest, flattest, openest thing in the world. And they fly around for a day and a half and just give up? I don't think so. I think they already found it. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. Whatever it was, whether it's Russia or China. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think.
So I mean, he's got a point. It's basically like if you were, I don't know, like you were spray painting something and there was overspray. Even like the lightest spray paint is going to hit that white canvas and make a mark, right? And you're going to be able to see dots. And that's what he was doing when he was kicking down. I'm just trying to describe it for people that aren't watching it on Twitter. This guy's basically looking at like the flattest, whitest snow patch. If anything was to impact, slide, skirt, whatever into there, you'd be able to see it instantly because it would leave these marks. But he's up there And yeah, he said for about a day and a half in that video, they weren't even looking because they either know exactly what it was, or he says they already have it. I don't know if maybe they already had it, but my point is I think they already kind of knew what it was, and they used the balloon thing. And like I said, it was like instant brainwashing, to be like, for lack of a better word. Everybody and their mother is like, dude, why are you posting about this? It's just another Chinese spy balloon. And I kept saying, no one in the government, any of these officials, ever said the word China. At first, they were not calling it a balloon or saying anything about Chinese. In fact, later, Joe Biden goes on and says it was definitely not China, right? So it was very interesting to watch people like immediately jump to the conclusion of Chinese spy balloon, not accidentally. I mean, one just flew over for almost an entire week, and it was a perfectly orchestrated smokescreen. You know what I mean?
To play devil's advocate about that video, Alaska's fucking big. He could be literally anywhere in Alaska. He's not going to know exactly where they took that thing out of the sky or where it's going to land and make that video. I mean, it still, I think, went viral. I remember when you shared that video with me, and it does hold a little bit of water there. Yeah, it makes a good point.
He did post like a you can, again, people can track like the flights. That's why I think the military had to make comments on this. Normally, I think they would have just gone about their business and never even said anything, but that would have made it 10 times worse, right? So at least they kind of get out and they say this stuff. Now, right, and then let's just run through this. So then the 11th, they shoot down more, and then the 12th. The rest of these objects, we get no data from, we get no pictures, no videos. They're all shot down over hard-to-reach areas with the excuse of being they're too hard to reach, for the reason being why we call off the search, right? I'm not saying that it's extraterrestrial or aliens either, but what I'm saying is these objects are not sky debris or trash. They've been there for a while. The questions I'm asking, and I don't know if anyone had, these are somewhat rhetorical, is just why now do you start shooting them down? Why now do they pose a threat, right? They've been there for years. Pilots have been telling you there. Why now? It just seems like very convenient timing. It's the beginning of the year. I think we've been on this slow buildup and slow ramp of, I'm not going to go so far to call it like slow bleed, drip feed disclosure, but it kind of feels like if you were going to talk about a drip feeding someone disclosure, this is it, man.
It could have been a test to see how people react. Like I said, it could have been just being on high alert from the actual spy balloon. But I thought it was interesting. Why are they telling us? Why are they so public about what's going on?
That's what I'm saying.
I've been having a conversation with Tomas about it, and he has a very strong opinion we haven't discussed yet. So
I don't know. And it's someone else mentioned this. I don't know if it's necessarily my opinion, but it brings up an interesting point. It's like February 3rd, Norfolk train crashes, with one of the biggest environmental disasters probably that's ever happened in the United States. Not getting any mainstream media coverage, but what is getting mainstream? Right, and what is getting the mainstream media coverage? The UFOs.
Yeah, you use the word, especially if you say UFOs. If you say UAP, and you let the media run with it, and we all know. Look, man, it's no secret. This is no. Nobody should be surprised. This is not conspiracy theory anymore. That the intelligence agencies and the government work hand in hand with mainstream media. Doesn't matter whether it's liberal or conservative. They feed them stories all the time.
Absolutely.
So letting them run with the term UFO and run for a couple days, man, it's clear. I think that was even, to make things even crazier, it was also Super Bowl weekend, was it not?
Yeah.
So that was a very busy, distracting weekend. Yeah, because I was joking. It was the Super Bowl for UFO fanatics because the government's running around shooting stuff down.
To build off the theory even more, the same companies that co-own the railroad system, own the media. They own Disney, they own Fox, they own CNN. They're the major stockholders of those companies. So they don't want their dirty laundry being aired because it is a big deal. They're not talking about it. Like, that city is effed up right now, and they're not getting that news. They're living in it.
There's a lot of stuff going on with that. I mean, yeah, it's going to create like acid rain in the clouds. You could see the clouds from airplanes. They're moving over towards Canada. It's, the wind's blowing it up there. So it's a major ecological disaster for sure. And people talked about it could be, the Biden administration was embarrassed by letting the Chinese spy balloon. They look weak, so that's now they're going overkill and shooting a bunch of stuff down. People that say things like that don't really understand how the government works, because the government, what you're saying about the corporations is probably far more likely than like someone being politically like their feelings hurt. Oh, we look weak against, balloons, quick, shoot down everything. Nothing like that is happens by accident. You know what I mean?
No.
Like you're messing, because God forbid you send up a fighter pilot, he runs into the thing and crashes and you kill a service member. Oh my God. Could you imagine how much worse you would look, right? They're not going to take that risk for some sky debris or junk. No. Here's I'll throw another one at you. So I got texted by a friend who's a pretty smart guy and very deep into this field. I won't mention his name just because I don't want his I don't want to spread his thoughts in a private conversation too much. But he said, what he thinks is going on is there's basically a civil war inside of the government, which is basically you have like the political side, you have politicians who we elect and they're doing some things, but then you have this military industrial complex filled with these defense contractors and military people. And these are like the people that are non-elected officials. So these people have been there for a long time and they ain't going nowhere, right? These are like lifetime appointed type people in charge of like billions of dollars in contracts and stuff. And what he was saying, and he's speaking as someone who worked within the defense contracting world. So that's, I don't want people thinking I'm just talking to Looney Tunes out here. He was saying that every once in a while, defense contractors, Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, these guys, they'll play around with some tech, and they basically, it's like Maverick and Top Gun, like buzzing the tower. Like they're just trying to show the government who's boss, right? So if the Democrats are in office and they want to cut defense spending and do this, they throw up their latest tech and invade airspace and be like, look, we just got over North America. Look how close we got to you. And NORAD didn't even know we were there.
A little flex on the country.
You flex on them, and all of a sudden you get nothing. Nothing is more powerful than fear. And you ask yourself, well, why would they do that? Because then you do that, and then you get $1 billion defense contract, right? to build the defensive weapon to the offensive weapon that you just demonstrated. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
you think they're all connected though, because I feel like every single one of those incidences are different. Like the vehicles that have been reported, anyways, are extremely different.
I don't know what they were, I don't even really. It doesn't matter whether they're UFO, whether they're true UFOs, like as the pop culture reference, or aliens. Do I think they're alien? Probably not. But I think that there's something.
Maybe one of them.
I think we don't know. That's the thing, right? It's like J. Allen Hynek investigating for Project Blue Book. He could explain away like 85% of what he came across, but that 15 to 20% is what kept him going. Even when the government shut down Blue Book and he walked away, he kept studying this, and people get roped in because it's that 20% of that unknown where you're just like, dang, man, I got to keep going because maybe there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, So I don't know what it is. I don't ever trust the face value story when it comes to this topic. I think that does it get exploited, like you guys are saying, whether it was exploited to cover up Biden's weak policy in the military. I don't know. The train crash, or is it defense contractors flexing? All of them are as equally could be true or untrue. Yeah, could be a combination of both. At the end of the day, I think it comes down to money, and I do think that the UFO subject is something that, like, for how much stigma it carries with it. Anytime you mention UFOs in the news dude, how much that was probably definitely the busiest weekend and the most clicks any of these news organizations have had since Trump was running for office in like 2016 or whatever and had his Twitter account. You know what I mean? Like those were the heydays of their ratings. And dude, UFOs and nothing grabs the world's attention like UFOs and aliens.
Yeah, and that's the biggest silver lining to me from these events is that I have friends the entire weekend, so many different friends, from acquaintances to my closest friends, message me, what is this? What is going on? And it piqued their interest, and they're even more interested and involved. I know we're involved with some group texts with some of our friends that were obsessed with what was going on. And at the very least, it was able to garner their interest and keep them engaged. So that's what this is all about, is getting informed and keeping interested.
So you know what's crazy is someone posted this and it caught my eye, is that here we are, I think 75 years later after Roswell, and the government is still using balloons as a cover-up for UFOs, right? Because that was the main headline after Roswell was flying saucer crashes on Farmer's Ranch. And 3 days later, it was like, no. It was a weather balloon, right? And here we are still talking about balloons, spy balloons. Oh, no, it wasn't a spy balloon. It was could be a private or commercial balloon. What are you talking about? 20,000 feet up? Oh, there's a Boy Scout club somewhere out of I forget, it was like Montana or somewhere up there, that said they think that maybe it was a balloon club. And one of their balloons got away, and they think that whatever was shot down. It's like, dude, all right, so let me get this straight. We're scrambling F-15, F-16 fighter jets, shooting $500,000 missiles at like a parade, like a balloon from a balloon club. Dude.
Yeah, no, because they got
and like a week later, they'll say they claim it.
That's what they said, and we'll never be able to tell. We'll never be able to know because they're not going to pick it up. They're not going to go get it and show it everybody. And frankly, even if they did, we would all still be skeptical anyway, right? Because, dude, none of us are going into the Yukon wilderness to go track this down. But like, dude, that is some bullshit. That's like as weak as it gets. That's as weak as it gets. Yeah. And then here we are, like, what's today? It's the 26th. Nobody's talking about this on the news anymore.
No, it's over.
It's done. It's out of the cycle. I don't know what I think the two prevailing thoughts is, like I said, it's either a smoke screen, nothing happened, it was completely mundane, and it was definitely an overreaction by everybody. Or, like I said, if you were just going to drip things out there for people, I mean, this is basically how you would draw it up. You would start telling people you shot down UFOs, see what they say. No, it was just a bunch of balloons. Everyone goes, oh, okay, let's just go back to watching football and eat Doritos and watch Rihanna, right? And you're like, all right.
I think it's a good test. I think that the public reacted fairly enough. There was no overreaction, I feel. I mean, that it piqued interest, which is great for, our podcast and the curiosity of people that, that weren't as interested in it as they are now.
Yeah, and this stuff is out there. Tomas, you pull up the picture I showed you. So, when you're talking about, again, small, cylindrical, grayish, metallic silver objects, everything that was described. I sent, we have an asset we're going to pull up here. This was released by Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. It's what's known as the Mosul, M-O-S-U-L, Mosul Orb. So this image is part of a 4 to 5 second video, it claims. Now, the video has not been released, just this image. But you'll see in the bottom right corner there, shiny, metallic, cylindrical ball, no bigger than a small car. And this image was captured by a spy plane in 2016 over, I want to say, it was an active conflict. So it was outside of Mosul, but, I don't know exactly where they caught it. But anyway, my point being is that's 2016. So like I said, for several years, we're seeing small cylindrical objects, grayish silver in shape, right? And here's an image that's pretty freaking clear, man. Right? Like you could see the top of those buildings. Dude, we're dropping missiles. Someone's flying a drone in Nevada right now over the Middle East, dropping bombs on people's houses, and we're assassinating people. with pinpoint accuracy. So you're telling me we can't take a picture and film this stuff? Dude, 100% we have clear visual evidence. And if it was all mundane, they would be showing it. But they're not, which just adds to that
level
hiding
of something.
They're hiding something.
I don't know what it is, but they're hiding something.
Right? So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting, like, just to kind of prove to people, like, this is not something that's brand new. I'm interested to see how the rest of this year plays out with this subject. I'm wondering if you start seeing more things being chased and more stories. Apparently there's more whistleblowers and a bunch more people to come, because as we covered in the Trinity episode, the last one that we just dropped, right? You talked about the defense spending bill. Yep. They also have been loosening restrictions on whistleblowers. So hopefully we're going to keep getting more and more people coming out, and hopefully more pilot accounts. These are not dumb people flying these airplanes, man. Like, they know what the difference between a balloon is. And
that being said, remember the UAP report commented on balloon and balloon-like entities. There's a lot of them up there. Right. There's more than we give them credit for.
Sky trash, sky debris. We've been hearing a lot about. I get it. I mean, I'm not saying everything is UFOs and aliens. Again, we're not. That's just not how I think. But I call bullshit when I smell bullshit, and I'm just saying
there's something more here than meets the eye.
This
for sure.
Nothing about this story, and it's ended at least in the general public's eye, and I just find it fascinating that this will be something that someone will do some. I'm sure there's better reporters out there than us doing some deep dives on it, and we'll probably get a bigger story in about a year. Is usually like all of a sudden you'll start to like hear from people that aren't in office anymore, and they'll be like, "Hey, remember that like incident in February?" A lot more to the story. Yeah, no shit, dude. It'll be on some Netflix special, right? So anyway, that's all I got for you guys on there. Do you guys have anything else to add to
I think
super UAP weekend?
I think we should start a I Believe in Humans balloon club and build our own balloon and send it up.
An ELA balloon?
Yeah.
Dope.
To spy on other balloons.
Are real, baby. and we should sell them and then just put UFO on it, right? Like just look, it's a UFO. Yeah. So great. That's it. Trademark that, Tomas. We'll put it
I'll
up
get started
on the merch store. Yeah, thanks, so all right, guys. Well, anyway, that's our take on the crazy weekend that was in early February about America's war on balloons and UFOs in the sky. Again, check us out on Instagram if you want to see any of the video clips and some of the headlines that we were posting over that weekend, or you can follow us on Twitter. I'm always retweeting and stuff. Again, Twitter is probably the fastest way to get a lot of that information, so definitely follow us there if you're looking for like breaking news, and I try to copy and paste it to Instagram as quick as I can. By the way, I also want to give a little shout out to the TikTok, man. We're on the talk, baby, so we're putting up some videos.
Justin's dancing.
Yeah,
I gotta wait till the next whatever the next fad is. Yeah, man, I'm down.
There's a new one every day.
I want to do the Wednesday dance, but I think that one's already come and gone.
We got to get you like an alien mask. You can rock the alien mask to whatever.
Work on my bikini body before I do that. All right, I'm down. You guys are getting alien or UFO tattoos soon, aren't you?
We are.
Yeah, we're getting branded.
Yeah. Right before Tomas goes back to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Are you getting the one that says like? Get in here, weirdo. We're doing butt stuff. You get that
one? I already got that T-shirt, so good on that front.
Classic. Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's all we got. Thank you so much for tuning in. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. If you want to see the visuals and the assets that we're throwing up, we'd love to communicate with you. Always my favorite part of the weekend is checking in on the comments. So like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And Dustin, don't forget, it's okay to believe.
You're not alone. See you next
Peace
time.
out.
That's one small step for man,
Welcome to Earth.
one giant leap for mankind.
What's up, man? Is lit.
UFOs are real.